Welcome to Women's Wealth, the podcast with me, Joanne. My mission is to educate, inspire, and empower you all to step into your own life of wealth. That feeling of being so rich in your mind, body, and soul. I'm so happy to have you here. Let's get straight into it. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Wealth with Joanne. Of course, I am Joanne and I'm flying solo today and for the next few weeks. So a few solo episodes before I have a few weeks off in July. I have some amazing guest podcasts pre-recorded, ready to go. So I'm saving them for when I am on my travels. I'm not actually going far this summer. I'm traveling back to the UK for a week, and then I'm actually coming back and taking some time off in Dubai. Of course, I'm saving for the wedding. So sensible this summer, we have decided to stay put. No big holiday. We're going to do a staycay. And I will be updating you on the progress with planning the wedding through my vlog. So that's a nice little seamless link to go and check out my YouTube channel, Wealth Life. You can watch the podcast there. So if you're listening to this, but you would also like to see me, head over to my channel. Just type in Joanne Wealth Life. You can go through all of the previous episodes, see the guests, and that's where I share my vlog and Wealth Life videos. Last week, I went for an amazing viral face fit session. It's a workout for your face, and I feel like I'm still glowing. It's been nearly a week, so a week tomorrow. And yeah, still loving the effects, just admiring my glow in the mirror here. I'm also actually glowing because I'm wearing, this isn't a plug, I just want to share it with you, the Beef Tallow Face Contour Balm. I've had really sore lips this week. I don't know if it's the dry air in Dubai, and I forgot that I had this balm. As you can see, it's a nice little pink, nice little flush, so you can put it on your cheeks, put it on your lips, and it's so soothing. So that's also where my glow is coming from today. Anyway, let's get into today's episode. So I want to share with you today something that's happened recently. So here in Dubai, there's no NHS, so everything is on insurance and certain things you have to pay for, and your smear test is one of those things. However, you can buy a really good package, so you get all of the blood tests. They check everything, that your hormones, thyroid. There's a huge list. You get your smear and you also get a breast examination. So all good. So I went there, and it's actually, obviously with the NHS, you get your smear on the NHS, but as I can recall, you don't get the blood test. So you'd have to go separately to do that. So it's quite, yes, you have to pay for it. I think in pounds, it's about £50. In dirhams, UAE dirhams, it was 250. So yeah, roughly £50. And I really do think it's a good package. So you get all of those things. And I tend to use this as my MOT checkup. So a few years ago, I had, it would be from maybe 8 years ago. I think I had 3 abnormal smears. So I had biopsies, I had is it called the LEEP, where you get them lasered, electrocuted off? Oh gosh, that sounds awful. And then another one, I can't remember what they did, but I was asleep for that one. Anyway, so I was told, so this would be 3 years ago for the last one, when I was asleep. So I was told for 3 years, go for a smear yearly, and that's what I've done. So I've gone, so touch wood, my smears are coming back fine, and up until my last blood test, my blood tests were coming back fine, my hormones are fine, and I really do also think, just side note, that my normal smear results are down to me balancing out my hormones and changing my lifestyle, because obviously I carry the HPV virus, of course. So, of course, I'm saying it like, oh yeah, of course I have that. So that came back, and if you're not sure what that is, basically the HPV virus, a lot of us have, but there's certain markers in that. And if you have those markers and abnormal cells, there's a higher risk of those abnormal cells turning into something else. Anyway, so that's not what the podcast is about today, but just a little bit of information for you there. So don't panic if you have abnormal cells. It is just, it can happen. It can be hormonal. I really do think, and I'm not a doctor. Everything I say today, actually, disclaimer, is not medical advice. It's all my own personal research, living life, just an update. So anything that I say today that you're unsure of and you might want to find more out, reach out to your GP. So this is just all my own understanding, not professional medical advice. Anyway, got my blood test results back and everything was spot on. Even my vitamin D, which is usually borderline, it wasn't high, it wasn't like amazing, but it wasn't low. So that's a good thing. However, my cholesterol levels were high. Now, I'm going to go through, I didn't have a clue. So this is why I thought I needed to do this podcast today, because this was news to me. And this was something, at first I panicked. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack, because we're kind of given this picture of high cholesterol being a death sentence. I know that sounds exaggerative, but it is. We're not really told much about cholesterol other than we shouldn't have high cholesterol. So, of course, I went on a deep dive. Now, when I went back, so we have the blood test here, and then a week later you go back for your smear and you discuss the blood test with the doctor. So, of course, as part of that, you have your height, your weight, your blood pressure, again, all fine. So when I went into the doctor, she obviously looked at me and we went through the bloods and she checked everything. So she's like, well, sometimes high cholesterol can come from a thyroid issue, but my thyroid was fine. My hormones were fine. So it was kind of like, so where is this coming from? So she asked the questions like drinking, smoking, obviously negative to both of those. I lead an active lifestyle. And it was kind of like, okay, so where do we go next with this? And this is what I wanted to talk about today. Some of the myths, some of the conspiracies, some of the, the things that I've learned over the last few weeks since finding out, it's been 5 weeks that I had this high cholesterol. So I'm just going to talk through the numbers. I'm just going to stick with the overall number today so it doesn't get too confusing with numbers. My overall cholesterol was 232. Now, the border that they say is 200. So anything 200 and below is fine. Anything above 200 is then in the higher zone. I think there's another zone above my 230 as well. So just having a look at that overall number. Now, I was quite shocked because, like I said, I do lead a healthy lifestyle. I don't eat, and this is where the myths come in. So I was like, well, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't eat lots of fried food, I don't eat lots of takeaways. I move my body, and I was kind of like, well, what am I meant to cut out then? Like, what am I supposed to do? And this is what I said to the doctor. Like, what do I do? Because I'm also within healthy weight range. And when I was doing my research, it said the first thing would be as well to lose 5 to 10 or 10 to 20% of your body weight. Anyway, if I did that, I would be at the doctor's for another reason, because I would be underweight and probably malnutritioned. So I was kind of like, well, what do I do? Because I don't want to lose any weight. I used to struggle, and I know people are always like, oh, what a shame, you used to struggle putting weight on. And for someone who, while I was going through my anxiety, really struggled to put weight on, now I'm at my healthy weight range, the last thing I want to do is lose weight again, because I look at pictures of myself, and of course my mindset was very different then, but I wasn't healthy. I had kind of grey skin, dark eyes, now I'm within the healthy weight range. I want to stay there. And I've also really tried to work on increasing my protein. Protein is important for women, those healthy fats, eating red meat. So all of these things that I was kind of like, yes, I'm doing this, the butters, and then suddenly it's like, oh, actually you have high cholesterol. So I was like, well, what the hell am I meant to do? Like, I felt really stuck. The thing is as well with high cholesterol is that there's no symptoms. So I don't feel any different at all. I still have the same energy. So it's not something that you can judge on symptoms. It's literally, and that's just one thing I'm like, oh, it's inside me. There's nothing that I can do other than go and have a blood test. And it's kind of like guessing game. I'm going back for a blood test in, I think now it'll be 8 weeks. So she said 12 weeks, just making small changes, which I'm going to go through. So I will come back in 12 weeks to let you know how I've got on. But it's not like something that is out there and is seen. And since I found out that I had my cholesterol at 232, I was like walking around the mall and looking at people eating McDonald's and donuts and thinking, well, what about their cholesterol? Because they, like, I guess that's a little bit judgmental of me. But I just felt a bit like, gosh, I do all of the work. Well, I try to do the work to keep myself healthy. And then I'm still told that, oh no, actually, you need to do X, Y, Z. Look at the numbers as well. Like, how common is this? And just by mentioning it to my friends, I also found this is very common. So in the UK in 2021, 59% of people were in the same range as me, had high cholesterol. And I also read that more than half of Brits can be living with high cholesterol and they don't even know it. And again, I wouldn't have found out unless I'd gone for this blood test. But having high cholesterol can then also lead to other things. So, of course, heart attacks, problems with the heart, strokes, even dementia. And this is where I kind of had a little bit of a spiral of, oh my gosh, I need to learn more about this, and let's see what I can do, because I actually thought I was doing all of the right things. I also think I had the impression that it was kind of a older person thing. So my mum, last time she went for a checkup for something, she had high cholesterol. So again, I was kind of like, oh, well, Mum, you're not getting any younger, so you need to look at your diet. And she is a smoker. Stop smoking, which I get on that if you're listening to this, Mum. I'm still saying it, yes. When I was younger, I used to hide her cigarettes from her, but I think she's from the generation of, they just do what they want anyway. So yeah, I put that in the bracket of that's something that I can avoid as I get older. 53% of men age 16 to 44 have high cholesterol. So it's not just an older person's problem. 46% of women in that age range. So basically it's half people from age 16 to 44. So that's the bracket I am in, that have high cholesterol. And again, if you're like me listening to this and you also put it into the box of something that I'll think about when I get there, or it's not going to happen because you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, or if you're younger than that listening to this, again, it's something we don't think about. So a genetic, I'm not going to try and say the word, I've wrote it down here, familial hypercholesterolemia, so just family high cholesterol, affects 1 in 250, so 220,000 in the UK. 90% are left undiagnosed. This is something that the doctor did mention to me. Do you have a family history of high cholesterol? And at the time, I didn't, again, my mum's, is it a history of high cholesterol? I spoke to my dad. He said he's never really been told. It's not been an issue for him. Never heard it mentioned with other family members. So is it? I don't know. Or do they just not know? So it's not just, and again, this was my own lack of understanding. It's really not just what you eat. It can be genetic. It's not even just about cutting out fat. There's a lot more to it than that. So if you're listening to this and it's something that, you might know that your parents have high cholesterol, or you're just concerned, or you'd just like to know, go and get a blood test. And again, I don't know how that works. I've been out of the UK now for 8 years. Can you just make an appointment and ask to check your cholesterol? I can't remember. I never did that there. Over here, when I'm ready for my blood test, someone will just come to the house and take it for me. I don't know if that option is available. Excuse me. I don't know. And I don't know if that option is available in the UK. I don't know. I'll find out when I go home anyway. But if you're listening to this, go and grab a test if you're concerned. And what I also found out from the blood tests is not all cholesterol is bad. So this is where it becomes a bit sciencey. But we have, I think there's 4 different numbers and then they give you the overall number. So we have HDL. This is the good cholesterol. This is what helps us to remove excess cholesterol from arteries. So in my blood test, that was great. That was good. It actually said good. We then have the LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. So this is obviously where my numbers then changed. So if you imagine cholesterol like plaque on your teeth. So the cholesterol eventually clogs up the arteries, and then this is when problems happen. So we want the HDL, we want the good cholesterol, because the good cholesterol is going to help us to remove that plaque. So the way I imagine it in my head is the good cholesterol is like a mouthwash, and you're just getting rid of that bad cholesterol. We also then have, and again, I wrote the word down here, triglycerides. I hope I'm saying that right. This is also part of the picture. And if these are too high, again, this can raise the risk of heart disease. Again, my numbers were okay. It was my LDL that was higher. And so I asked the doctor, so what do I need to cut out? And the answer wasn't as simple as I expected, because we have good fats and we have bad fats. And it's not just down to eating a low fat diet, because we need to also eat the foods that support our HDL, so our good cholesterol, and foods that can actually help to lower the bad cholesterol. So it was a case of, yes, I started, within the first day, we went out for food, and ChatGTP became my best friend, and I had the dry piece of salmon with a jacket potato with absolutely nothing on it and some vegetables with no butter. Not very nice. 5 weeks on, I've learned that it's okay to have the odd thing, and as long as I'm making wise choices during the week and mixing my good fats, then it's okay. But again, I'll come on to that. It's not just food that can cause high cholesterol. It can be stress. It can be, of course, sugar is a food. It can be a sedentary lifestyle. Of course, if you're not exercising, you're not having that workout for your heart, and even inflammation within the body. So when I started to assess what I was eating and where I could make changes, again, without losing weight. So the first thing I have done is I've swapped out my milk. So every morning I either have porridge or chia seed pudding that I was having full fat milk with, of course, for the calcium, and also trying to keep my healthy weight. So I've swapped out my milk for soy milk, and in my coffee, instead of a full fat latte, I've swapped my milk there for oat milk. And again, I know there's a whole conspiracy around oat milk, but I've gone from a latte to a flat white, and I've made sure that in my oat milk, there's no added sugar. Sugar could be the culprit for my high cholesterol, rather than fatty food. And maybe stress, anxiety, has that caused the issues from the past when I was really suffering with stress and anxiety? I don't know. I don't know if I can ever pinpoint it down. But I've really tried to, again, I've spoken about my sugar addiction. I blame my dad. Really pulling back on during the week. I've gone making sure that I'm having dark chocolate if I do have that. Sweet tooth, lots more avocados than what I was eating before. What else? Only little bits of honey. So I've just made these small changes. I wouldn't say that I'm on a diet at all. I'm just eating more intentionally. We already used olive oil to cook in, so that's continued, adding extra garlic, because again, it's not just about stopping eating fats, it's about including more foods to support the good cholesterol. So adding in more garlic, more leafy greens, avocados. So every single day, I'm making sure that I have avocado, spinach, garlic, and adding in cucumber, tomato. So everything that I eat has that on the side or added in, because they are going to support my good cholesterol and help to lower the LDL, the bad cholesterol, without me going on a full-blown diet. It was kind of what I was eating anyway, but now more intentionally. Like, I'd have the odd avocado, but now I'm having it every single day. Swapping out where I would have bread, I'm now having Ryvita, and again, layering avocado or almond butter on there. I have started to take protein shake, again, unflavored. It's not very nice on its own. I've had to buy sugar-free cacao powder. Oh, it was actually disgusting on its own. But again, making sure that I'm getting the calories. So the calories that I've lost from the full fat things, I've put in through other ways. Interestingly, which I should have mentioned at the start as well, I wasn't told to fast before my blood test. So this could all be, because I did have a steak before I went for my blood test. My blood test was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I had steak and salad for my lunch. Could that be the reason why? The doctor wasn't sure. But I'm actually quite grateful that I've had this opportunity to learn more about my diet. And yes, I was doing the right things before. Could I now do better? Yes. Have I got more of an understanding of what I'm eating and why? Yes. And when I'm eating the food, I didn't ever used to think about cholesterol. I didn't ever think about, I'm going to eat this avocado because it's going to support my HDL, my good cholesterol. I would eat the avocado because I knew it was a healthy fat, but not really understanding what it was doing for me. I've also cut back on the amount of nuts I was eating because you can go too much with those. So again, it's a learning curve for me that yes, maybe I thought I was doing okay nutritionally, but now I'm learning more. I definitely think that milk was inflaming me in some way. I'm not going to say that, I love milk. I used to drink milk I'd have a pint of milk before I went to bed. If I felt like I needed a snack, but I was just being, a bit greedy and it was bedtime, I would have a drink of milk. Again, thinking that, okay, this is going to be good. It's good fats, it's calcium, and just understanding that we can get that nutrition from elsewhere. I've just gone off on a tangent then. I was going to say something else. I can't remember what it was. Something about milk. I can't remember. Of course, not having cheese, and I was quite naughty and I would have bread and butter all of the time when I was cooking food. So that's also come to an end. But yeah, I would definitely say if you're curious about your cholesterol, go and get a test and then look into these small changes that can really support, because I do feel like it's helped me to reflect on my own nutrition. Now, of course, this wouldn't be my podcast if I didn't mention a conspiracy. I'd already read online about the cholesterol conspiracy. So in the 1980s, the high cholesterol boundary was 240. So if this was 1980, I wouldn't have high cholesterol because it would actually be under. Now, the conspiracy is that the goalposts have been changed or have been changed. Is that proper English? That wasn't proper English, was it? I can't think. Anyway, the goalposts have moved. That's the saying I was after. To push more people onto prescriptions, onto statins, onto lifelong drugs. Now, this wasn't mentioned at all when I spoke to the doctor. However, this has happened in other areas of health. Again, if you have high cholesterol, when you go to the doctor and they offer you these drugs, it's your choice whether you take them. Although do your research and really try to see if through more natural methods, little swaps like I have done, looking at your diet, your exercise, your sugar intake, your stress levels, really beginning to focus there rather than jumping on to drugs, onto statins. Now, they will be useful if, of course, you're doing all of the things and you can't make any changes in your diet, and maybe it is genetic, but then there are also options for, what's it called? I can't think. It's something husk. I've read about it when, again, researching, go away and, if you're interested in this, it's the natural statins that we can take to avoid being, lifelong big pharmaceutical customers. So that was also something very interesting. And a lot of my friends, when I mentioned my high cholesterol to them, they were like, don't believe it. It's all part of the big pharmaceutical plan. Who knows? But like I've just said, I am grateful that it's allowed me to reflect on my own nutrition and what I am putting into my bodies, more than one, what I'm putting into my body, because it really has allowed me to learn. I read, and again, this was highlighted in my own understanding of cholesterol, that we pin it on fat and fried food. Because again, I was like, oh, I don't eat much fried food. I don't eat takeaways. I don't have, McDonald's a lot. These are all changes I've made over the years consciously to be more healthy. So I was like, I don't eat that. We don't have a fryer. I've never fried and deep fried. So that was my perspective, rather than also understanding that processed foods and sugars. For me, it would be more sugar, and I don't eat a lot of sugar, but that is my sweet tooth. And was I eating processed food? Cheese is processed, I guess. I'd also stopped eating bread unless it was made in the bakery. Sourdough, I'd already made these changes, which is why I was a little bit like, But if you haven't made those changes, they could just be some simple changes that you can make. So cutting back on the processed foods, cutting back on sugars. Where are you getting added sugars from? If, sometimes we eat things and they're labeled as healthy, but they're not actually. So again, going and having your own research there. But it was very interesting that, 40 years ago, I wouldn't have high cholesterol because I was in the safe boundary. And of course, no one ever talks about that we need these good cholesterols in our body to help us to fight the bad cholesterol. Imagine the little HDLs and the LDLs having a little fight in your artery. And I'm not saying don't trust the medicine or the doctors, but do your own research and don't let fear drive your decisions. So again, I wasn't offered these, but I did go away and do my own research. I'm still doing my own research. I'm learning every time I go to have something to eat. Not every time, but a lot of times, if there's something that I'm unsure of, I'm like, is this good for my cholesterol? I'm just asking ChatGPT. It's amazing. My ChatGPT also analysed all of my blood tests as well. I just copied and pasted the whole thing in and told it to analyse. And of course, it also shared the cholesterol there. ChatGPT did also tell me that because everything else is fine, it might be a genetic thing. So let's see in 8 weeks' time. Okay, so just going back to what I'm doing then. So I've swapped out my milks in the morning. In the afternoon, I'm making sure that I have a nice piece of fish with spinach and nuts and all of the good things. And then my evening meal, cooked in olive oil. Again, sticking to fish for the time being. Small amounts of chicken. I feel like chicken does inflame me. Not to sound like, it has to be organic, but I don't really trust the chicken in Dubai. I feel like it's pumped full of hormones. It tastes different, so I'm not really eating chicken, and I've really cut back on, instead of having 3 steaks a week that I was doing, because I'm kind of trying to follow this carnivore diet, I've cut back on the red meat. At the weekends, I'm just eating normally. Same breakfast as I do in the week. Probably the same lunch, but we had takeaway. We've had pizza last night. We had Krispy Kreme. So still finding that balance of, in the week when it's easier to eat more healthy, and then at the weekend having the treat. I don't drink alcohol anyway, so that's not an issue. I'm not even going to call it a treat, and just eating what I want at the weekend, because I know that in the week I am eating more intentionally to help my healthy cholesterol. So swapped out. What else have I done? I think I've mentioned most of the things. I ate a lot of salmon, but again, salmon is really good for your HDL, so swapped out my steaks for salmon. And of course, I'm active anyway, but I've really made sure that I do my yoga. Obviously, I'm teaching yoga, twice a week yoga, Legree class, and I've also restarted. I was kind of dipping in and out of HIIT, so I get one big cardio. But again, you need to listen to your body. I know that if I do too much cardio, that it spikes my cortisol levels, I lose weight really quickly, it doesn't make me feel healthy, but I know that I need to add that cardio in for my heart. So again, planning intentionally your workouts and have the intention behind your workout to what it is you want to achieve. So if it's strength, adding your strength training, which can also help your cardiovascular activity. If you have high cholesterol, can you go for a brisk walk instead of a slow walk? So just looking intentionally at your workout regime as well. And of course, because high cholesterol can be caused by stress, anxiety, really tuning in to my pranayama, my breath work, meditation, giving myself that time to slow down, allowing myself time to reset. And if I found myself getting stressed over the past 5 weeks, I've completely slowed down. Hence why the podcast has had a bit of a break in between, I think maybe 10 days since my last post and recording today, because I really wanted to work on the afternoons when I would usually record the podcast. I've had a chill out time because again, I want to see if this works. I want to lower the high cholesterol. Unless it's genetic, then we'll have to look at other things, but lowering my stress levels. There's been a holiday this weekend in Dubai, and to the point where I've chilled out that much, I'm like, I need to do something. So I'm recording this on a Sunday afternoon because I was like, right, I feel like I've had 2 solid days where I've been to work, I've taught in the morning, but I haven't done anything else. I've watched Sex and the City, we've chilled out, we took the dogs to the desert. So yeah, it felt like really good today to actually do some recording on a Sunday. And just to close off, this isn't just a journey of a diet and, I need to eat better. It's really allowed me to learn, and this is a journey for my future self. So having these numbers and learning about these numbers again was a bit of a shock because I thought I was doing all the right things. And it's nice to just be able to take that time to have a little reset, to learn a little bit more and live more intentionally to look after that part of myself, which I guess my intention wasn't there before. It was more, I've always eat intentionally for longevity and health, but not specifically my heart health. So it was more hormonal balance and hormonal health actually. So for the past few years, I've really ground in my hormonal health and I guess forgotten about other areas. So this journey is more about learning and sharing and hopefully helping other people if you're also curious about how you can, help your own cholesterol levels. And it's also about showing up with kindness and not criticism. Like I said, the first couple of days I was walking around judging people for eating McDonald's and thinking, well, why is your cholesterol not high? And how can you eat that? And I'm over here eating a dry jacket potato. I'm over that now. I understand now. And if something feels off with you, if you're listening to this and you think, oh, my parents have both got high cholesterol, could this be genetic? Just go and get yourself tested and then start your own learning journey into those simple swaps you can make. But remember not to restrict yourself. We still need to enjoy food. Food is not the enemy. Maybe it's stress that is causing your high cholesterol. Anyway, have a little reflection. I would love to hear from you, especially if you face the same, that you thought you were healthy and, well, not that I'm unhealthy, but you thought you were doing everything right. And then this pops up and it's like, So yeah, let me know, reach out to me. If you have any questions, also reach out to me. Like I said, I'm not a professional, I'm not a doctor. This is just everything I've learned over the past 5 weeks and the changes that I've made. And I can give you a bit more information on what I have done with pleasure. Don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube, share the podcast, wherever it is that you listen to me. Every single share, comment, subscription really, really does mean the world to me. And I'll see you all in the next episode.